Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm finally here to basically, to deliver the long-awaited um, rendition, if you will, of my take on this whole case as far as what happened about a month ago with this case of Tyre Nichols. And my thoughts and my take on it, because I just feel like, as an ex-Memphian who knows just how chaotic Memphis is. And there are going to be some things that I'm going to say that very well might offend y'all. And the only thing I can do is ask y'all to forgive me if see, even now I'm looking at an incident. I'm logged into channel 3 in Memphis, and apparently 4 months ago, it says that, I know this is kind of on a tangent, but it says 1 dead after Hickory Hill Kroger shooting. And I'm pretty sure I have an idea of where this was, but I'm almost certain that when I left Memphis, that location, had closed. That location of Kroger, unless they've reopened, they managed to reopen it, and in doing so, hold on, y'all, forgive me. I'm looking. Hey, y'all, I'm looking at the footage. I got it muted, but there's one sister on there finding a motherfucker, and I'm like, where were these hoes when I was living there? Come on now, all the monsters I was around. Make that make sense. And see, the only time I ran across baddies, though, and there were baddies in Memphis, but the only time that you saw them was when I was at the University of Memphis. So I'm like, well, shit, it is what it is. But anyway, let me go and get off that tangent. I'm pretty sure I have an idea of where this is. It looks very familiar. Saying some dude got shot. It was back in October. And shit, it is what it is. But with all that said, with all that said, As someone who lived in Memphis for 27 years, seeing my former city reach publicity not only across the nation, but across the freaking globe, you know, and like I said, knowing what I know about Memphis, as fucked up of a thing that this is to say, because it's not like Tyre Nichols' demise is anything peculiar when you consider just how many people die in that town on the daily. By just, random people. So with that said, and like I said, knowing what I know about Memphis, knowing about the goons, knowing about the MPD, I almost feel, and again, I'm gonna need y'all. I ask y'all to forgive me for even saying this, but I almost feel like something like this needed to happen. So that the corruption of not just the fucking MPD, because that's where y'all had me twisted. I mean, of the city as a whole, could be exposed. And this time, of course, they went a little too far, way too far, way to the left. Went all the way to the left, all the way to the left. This time, so much so. I mean, like I said, since, and has done something like this since. We haven't seen anything like this since the case with Eliza Fletcher, which also made worldwide publicity, made the city of Memphis look like a whole nutcase, which it is. Because I've been here. I've been here in Denver, Colorado for the past 5 years now, and all I've been doing is building. Just been, focusing and reestablishing, if you will, reestablishing all the destruction, basically. Yeah, basically all the destruction and havoc, the slew of destruction and havoc that was left in that city, a city upon which I relied not only for my safety but for my well-being as an active participant of that society. Memphis failed me in every sense of the word. Every sense of the word. But see, the difference between me and Tyre Nichols, the difference between me and all the little kids who get killed out there, because like I said, it ain't nothing peculiar about the fact that Tyre Nichols died in Memphis or was brutally murdered the way he was in Memphis. This just happened to be a case of police brutality. But I submit to you that this could have easily been some street brawl, especially when we consider what it was over. Which again, some things just takes a Memphian to explain this shit. Cause a lot of people look at this, but they're looking at it from the hourglass. I mean, they're looking at it from outside the hourglass. And I was looking at it from outside the hourglass too when I saw it, but the thing is, I was inside the hourglass. I was in that so-called society, dealing with that society, not running into what this fine sister, and yeah, I'm not gonna show it. Never running into that except when I was at the University of Memphis. I wouldn't have seen that. I wouldn't have ran into that in Hickory Hill. And people, I'm a Hickory Hill nigga. That's where those are my stomping grounds. Exactly where this apparently had happened. Right in the heart of not just East Memphis, Southeast Memphis. My turf. Not South Memphis, not North Memphis, not Binghamton, not Fraser, not Whitehaven, Southeast Memphis. Because even when I was looking at the street, I was like, yeah, I low-key remember that, especially I believe the one of the intersecting streets was like Clearbrook or something like that, where it occurred. But you know, as fucked up as this is, I'm glad I waited. I'm glad I spent enough time instead of just, like I said, just coming up here and popping off at the mouth and directing my outrage towards MPD as a whole and the city of Memphis as a whole. I took the time for the story to develop, give it some, development. Give it some time to, for more things to be unraveled so that I basically could just go in based off of what I know about Memphis, having lived there for 27 years, having survived that fucking place, and having survived it and managing to survive long enough to say that this city has, not only did it fail me in every sense of the word, or as well as the children out there who are murdered on the daily, it failed Tyre Nichols. And I'm here to tell, because it's my understanding that Tyre Nichols was originally from Sacramento, California. And, he even had relatives calling all the way from California, grieving and, not really, just being confused about. Now, apparently his mother lived in Memphis with him. But, there was he had family members, just being confused about, what was going on, down in Memphis, and what the whole deal is. And I'm here to disclose that, what the deal is. And I'm pretty sure I've said this before about this crazy ass city. A city that a lot of people are lured into going to because the cost of living there is relatively low. And I understand now. I understand what makes, having lived in Denver as long as I have, I understand now what would possess somebody to go to Memphis. Because when I was stuck in the thick and thin of it, I had no idea. I was like, what in God's holy name would possess anybody to go to this ungodly, demonic ass, satanic ass city where you got a whole bunch of crazy ass niggas blowing each other's brains out? Unemployment out the ass, underemployment out the ass, and high crime rates. Well, one pro of it is indeed the cost of living. As crazy of a city as Memphis is, it does have its pros. I mean, not to which it would convince me to go back, because the way Memphis has been, man, I've actually had dreams about. I often get these dreams, and I'm running on a tangent. So if you're impatient, you might as well just get off this, because I'm gonna rant. This is my former city we're talking about, a city that I haven't been in 5 years. So I'm gonna reflect. I'm gonna rant. I'm not just gonna get to the nitty gritty of it. I'm gonna take my time with this, and I think Memphis deserves that, considering that, like I said, I endured what I endured there for 27 years. We're talking about a city that damn near killed me. I quite literally, and I've told people this, I almost look at this like, I'm some sort of Holocaust survivor who managed to escape. It's almost like, some of the Jews, uh, who escaped Germany before, the Nazi party took full effect. And then, they're just looking from afar, in the United States or wherever else the Jews fled. That's how I feel. Where I'm looking from afar of that Holocaust that, like I said, Tyre Nichols didn't survive, Young Dolph didn't survive, Gangsta Boo didn't survive, and many of whom, several of whom anyway, of these people lived in other parts of the country, moved to other parts, because Young Dolph lived in Atlanta, Gangsta Boo lived in California. But needless to say, they had real estate in Memphis, and they were just going back to visit. Tyre Nichols didn't survive. Eliza Fletcher didn't survive. So I had to come to the realization that, in all my frustration and whatnot, that not only did this city fail me as far as doing the bare minimum, is basically keeping my black ass safe, it failed these people too. Which goes to my point that when you come into the city of Memphis, somewhere along the line, somewhere along the way, because it's been a while since I've been there, you won't find it like upon entering Memphis. That would be insane and ridiculous, but I guarantee you that you remain on that Poplar and Highland street. Because I'm not exactly sure if Poplar and Highland leads directly to the bridge across Memphis, but it definitely takes you downtown. So, assuming that you're coming to Memphis via the bridge, the Arkansas bridge, coming from West Memphis, Arkansas, if you continue on Poplar and Highland, guaranteed you might have to look back, but I guarantee you are going to find a billboard somewhere along the way. If you look hard enough, you're going to find a billboard written by, unless they've taken it down by now, because like I said, it's been 5 years. It was up when I was living there. You're going to find a billboard by the Memphis Police Association that says, "This city does not promote public safety. Enter at your own risk." Think I'm lying. Think I'm lying. Think I'm bullshitting. So I don't know what inspired, motivated, or even possessed an out-of-towner like Tyre Nichols to come and his family to move to a place like Memphis. But let me assure you, for all you out-of-towners who are considering Memphis, first of all, let me tell you, if you are considering moving to Memphis, don't. You have a better chance, and I wouldn't have you go there either, but you have a better chance even in a Blackistan like Atlanta before you do Memphis. Because even with all the goons there, even with all the killers there, Atlanta ain't on the map like that. Just call it what it is. And then the crazy thing is Atlanta's got way more to do, and that's probably why it ain't on the map like that. Because it's probably more of an interesting city where there's actually things to do, and you might have a fighting chance as long as you stay out of the areas where the goons live. So you go into a city that's twice as boring. That's twice as boring as Atlanta. Because I've been to Atlanta. Hell, I used to live there when I was, real little. Because, I'm an army brat, so we moved to a lot of cities. But we settled in Memphis. Like I said, I went through notions. I went through, I experienced what I experienced during my grade years. And with all this said, I'm for some odd reason I'm now thinking back to when I was working at AutoZone. I don't know if I think I told you I used to work at AutoZone for 4 years, and then how in 2008 I was held at gunpoint. We're looking at, like I said, we're looking at what happened to this dude. I'm looking at it from a perspective of just, because y'all are looking at the police officers. As a native, I'm looking at the city as a whole. That, the police officers is just another aspect of, how you can get clapped out here. And that you're no more safe with them than you are the goons running rampant in that city. Let me say that. Let me rephrase that. What I'm trying to say is that you're just as likely to get it from these dirty ass cops down there as you are the goons. But I remember, my mind's taking me back to 2008 when I was at AutoZone, and this dude pretty much walked in there with a hand cannon telling me to open the safe. My manager was in the back shaving his head, apparently. I didn't know what the fuck that nigga was doing until he opened the door on him. But again, it just takes me back. It takes me back to when, the fear that I saw on my manager's face when, he opened the door, because like I said, he was doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing. Like he was shaving his head or something. And he opens the door and he sees this masked dude. He sees me on the ground because he got me on the ground. Eagle wing, like spread out like an eagle, or eagle spread it out. And I just remember him going, whoa, and closing the door, because he's staring. It's like that old song, staring down the barrel of a 45. Well, he was staring down the barrel of a damn 357. To which he said, I'm gonna shoot your coworker if you don't come out. And I was like, man, if you don't get your ass up out here and give this man what he want, gonna get both of us killed, being a whole punk. And like I said, this was the first time I was ever held a gun, and the only time too. And hopefully it'll be the only time I do. But again, I'm just pointing out the nature of this crazy ass city. And I was just thinking that after he got what he got and got away, and fortunately, thank the Most High, didn't nobody get hurt. And the police showed up. The police officer was looking at me, and he was hearing what I had told him, because the dude was like, open the safe, open the safe. And I told him, I can't open the safe, my manager has to open it. How he said that he could have killed me right there just for saying that. instead of taking the time to consider that I'm just the I'm just a red shirt. I'm not even a manager. How am I gonna open the safe when I'm just a red shirt? But like I said, while everybody's looking at this from afar, it just brings back memories of just how this city, how deadly this city is, how this city can kill your ass in so many different ways. I mean, it's quite literally like the Amazon River. Like it reminds me of that. It reminds me of that movie Anaconda back in '97, where there was a scene where I think it was like this marine biologist, or there was some sort of scientist, whether it's marine biologist, archaeologist, who knows, who cares. And he was talking about getting in the river looking for something, and he was like, "Are you sure?" And dude, like the bad guy at the first, like he wasn't the bad guy then, but he turned out to be the bad guy. He was asking him, "You sure? You don't want me to do it? This river can kill you in 1,000 ways." He either said 1,000 ways or 1,000,000 ways. Well, either way, that's Memphis. Memphis can kill your ass in so many different ways. It's incalculable. So when I look at the Tyre Nichols case and I know what led up to it, how that happened, well, that's just part of the element that is Memphis. How this dude died, why this dude died, and why this supposed Scorpion unit targeted him specifically. Because based off of what I know, this wasn't just no random routine traffic stop. See, at face value, you would think that, because apparently this Scorpion unit, funded by this jackass C.J. Davis, who apparently has a long streak history in other parts, even outside of the Mid-South, like in Atlanta, where she apparently had this Red Dogs unit, where it was pretty much mainly a specialized unit of the police, mostly consisting of black folks, and they were just going down there terrorizing black people down there in Atlanta. But apparently, this so-called Scorpion unit was just basically just going around just fucking with people, terrorizing motherfuckers. Prior to this incident. So when we learn that Tyre Nichols apparently had been seeing the at the very least the fiance, because I don't know who this bitch is, to be honest. Would be she the ex-wife? All I know is that she's one of the police officers' baby's mamas. She's the police officer's baby mother. Now, whether they're married, divorced, engaged, was engaged, that I don't know. All I know is that the woman that there was a woman involved, and by default there was a love triangle. And if you know anything about Memphis, domestic violence and love triangles and the end result of love triangles are simply part of the culture down there. It's part of the culture. And it's part of the culture because it happens so much. That's just what they do in Memphis. Love triangles is what they do. And getting caught up in one will get you killed. And don't think for one split second that if the girl ain't the most attractive, that you're dealing with, that you're going to be good. Because I submit to you that you won't. I submit to you that you won't. And yeah, I was also thinking back a couple years back about how there was this there was this couple, and there was this dude who was like ex-military, and he was walking downtown with his girl, and some goons, knowing Memphis goons, basically started catcalling her, and words were exchanged between him, because needless to say, he's gonna defend this girl's honor. Who wouldn't? And the goons shot dude and killed her. So y'all looking at the fact that, oh, this is just a police officer. Like, no, this is the culture of Memphis. And like I said, I submit to you that this could have easily happened on the streets as much as it would have with this, like I said, this so-called Scorpion unit. This would have happened irregardless of whether or not the dickheads who did this to him were police officers or not. This could have easily happened from a bunch of street goons who found out some dude was basically clapping his wife or his girl or even his ex. And it also takes me back, speaking of females, speaking of baddies, see, this takes me back to when, I was attending the University of Memphis, and it just takes me back to all the females that I was dealing with. And I like to think that I was calling myself doing the noble thing instead of just getting out there and just smashing and laying up with baddies who, was throwing it at a nigga. Hoes was throwing it at a nigga. Don't get it twisted. That's why I never just fell for the whole, this whole notion, of excuse me. This whole notion of being a goon, and that's what you have to do in order to you know, get the females. Um, I'm living proof that. Yeah, y'all have to forgive me. I heard something outside. I do live in a group home, so y'all have to bear with me. I hope y'all didn't hear that. Got these crazy folks that I'm living with, in this new refugee camp. And it's funny, I call it new when it's new since I left Memphis. As like I said, I've been living in this refugee camp for 5 years now. But yeah, it takes me back to all of the females that I was dealing with, right? There were females that I was genuinely in love with, and got my heart broken and got it shattered. And needless to say, I got caught up I got caught up in the love triangle. I mean, not face to face, fortunately. Like, it was via phone where, dude was telling me to stay away from her. Yeah, like real shit. Which I did. I was like, hell, I'll stay away from Aries, and it still fucks me up to this day when I think about some of these girls and how they just made me feel, but how it was all just a fluke. That I was basically just the rebound guy. So she'd get right back on what Black Ram refers to as the cock carousel, because shortly after dealing with me, I saw her with one nigga, and I was like, okay, that must be her new boyfriend, wouldn't it? Whatever. But then shortly after that, I'd see her with one nigga, then I'd see her with another nigga, then I'd see her with another nigga. I'm like, damn. So as red pillars, we now understand. We now understand what that is. We understand that to be the cock carousel, pretty much. We know what that is. So even within all that heartbreak, um, like a year after that, I remember being stepped to by some, like, bruh, some baddies. I mean, just some straight up baddies. Like, I'm talking about mulattoes. Like, yeah, mulattoes with some tig old bitties. I remember there was this one chick with some tig old bitties, a big old butt, thin waist, even though she messed around and somehow broke her leg or something, kind of put on weight. But I think she ended up losing it. I think. And she was mad choosing. Mad choosing. And at this time, I was in my mid 20s at the time. So I had a solid foundation on just how dangerous Memphis females really were, which is why I didn't get nervous. Well, I didn't get concerned when they weren't choosing up on a nigga. I got concerned when they were, cause I had a full understanding of how dangerous these broads can be. And then one day I saw her wearing this hat called cause yeah, she worked at the rec center. And I remember one day I saw her, yeah, she'd be up there talking to me and trying to, like, basically doing what females do when that mad choosing up on you. Which is one of the reasons why I just started applying certain principles, because I was just thinking to myself, like, just how hard it is to get rid of a female when she hella choosing up on you. When she feeling you. And yeah, it is hella hard. Even when they finding a motherfucker, cause don't get it twisted, she was finding a motherfucker. And sometimes I low key regret that shit. Not not getting with that, not clapping that. But let me get to what yeah, I saw her wearing one time. She had on a cap that said Marine Wife. Mm-hmm. It said Marine Wife. And that right there, because, when she was choosing up, I was like, for some odd reason, it just didn't add up. The math didn't add up. I'm like, all these monsters in here got 3-4 plates on their bench, and you want little old me? And at the time, I might have had 2 plates on that bench, which is still a considerable amount because I ain't benching 2 plates now. I'm trying to get to at least 2 plates. Yeah, 225 is a shit. I think I told y'all my max is 205. And, you know, I've been trying to break this goddamn plateau since I lost weight. But yeah, back then I lost a lot of weight, so needless to say, yeah, it had a serious effect on my bench press, and the fact that, you know, at 155, I ain't 155 now, but the fact that at that weight I could still press, you know, 185, 195, and even sometimes 205, you know, I think that was, you know, pretty amazing considering just how much of a, you know, lightweight I was after I lost all the weight. And even then, you know, after I lost the weight, she was still hella choosing when I ran into her. But after that, you know, I was like, no, I can't do that because I ain't trying to run into your nigga. I don't know how scandalous you are. Who to say and vindictive? Who to say, you know, you want me to do something and, or, you know, some just go to the left. The next thing you know, you pitting your nigga against me, and I got a whole Marine to deal with. A nigga who's been in combat, learning that I've been digging out his girl. I'm like, some games, man, some games you just don't play. So when I learned that Tyre Nichols was digging out this police officer's girl, and then on top of that, I found out apparently that this police officer's girl is a white girl too, albeit an ugly one, albeit a